Good evening, everyone. This is Shannon Rutherford, the town planner. I'm going to start the evening with a roll call of our commission members and then turn the meeting over to our chair. So I've got Patrick Carrier.
Here.
Mike Grabulas.
Here.
Scott Halstead.
Here.
Matt Hutwagner.
Here.
Inez St. James.
Here.
Liz Sanford. Sorry, Liz Sanford. Okay, we're going to note Liz absent for now, and then James Ratcliffe.
Here.
No Mike Walsh today, right?
And yes, sorry, Mike Walsh. Thank you. We were notified earlier that Mike Walsh will not be in attendance this evening.
All right, we'll look for Liz after. But good evening, everyone. It's Inez St. James. Welcome to Town of Farmington Town Plan and Zoning Commission meeting. Today is March 21st. And Scott, if you can read the legal notice, I would appreciate it.
Absolutely. Town of Farmington Town Plan and Zoning Commission. Notice is hereby given that the Town Plan and Zoning Commission will hold an online public hearing on Monday, March 21, 2022 at 7 p.m. on the following applications. Claudia's Gourmet Coffee and Deli, application for special permit for restaurant use at 1024 Farmington Avenue, BR and FW zones. Amy Blade's application for special permit for expansion of home located at 36 Redcoat Lane, R30 OS zone. Town of Farmington application for special permit and site plan for construction of new high school located at 10 Monteith Drive, R40 and R20 zones.
Biggie.
Interested parties are encouraged to participate in this online public hearing. The link to this meeting may be found on the Town of Farmington's website at the link on your screen. A copy of this proposal is online at the link as well, or by calling the planning department at Farmington Town Hall at 860-675-2325. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this third day of March, 2022, Town Plan and Zoning Commission, Inez St. James, Chair.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
All right. Liz is on.
Okay. We just want to double check. Liz Sanford, have you joined the meeting?
Yes, I have.
Okay, thank you. We're just checking for our roll call. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, everyone. All right. We have two new business items that we're going to look at first before we get into the public hearing section that Scott referenced. So actually, both items are, James, you will not be, of course, you're welcome to ask questions, excuse me, but you will not be voting on the new business items. Just want to make sure you know.
Thanks.
Thank you. The first item is an application from Stephen and Elizabeth Kendrick. It's a fence request. And who do we have?
I believe we have the property owners on this evening. Mr. and Mrs. Kendrick, would you like to introduce yourself, provide your full name and property address, and present to the commission what you would like to do with respect to your fence?
Stephen and Elizabeth Kendrick. We've been living here at number 2 Mountain Spring, and we're living obviously right along Route 4, and there's quite a bit of traffic noise, as you can imagine, and it probably experienced through the years, and a lot of light from cars, especially at night. So we'd like to put up about a little over 100 feet, maybe 120, 130 feet of basic wood fence of 6 feet. Extending from, you can see from the picture, there we are. We talked to the Historical Commission last week, and we got a very good response from them. And we know this is an essential step in the process. So we hope that you will consider this and allow us to move forward. It would be quite helpful in terms of our enjoying our property.
There's a lot of exposure there on Route 4, and it's, as you know, of course, obviously a very busy road. So to have some that little stretch of privacy would be a real help. Yeah.
We understand. Thank you. And I know there were some additional notes with the application.
Yes, so the application was provided to the commission. So there were notes here with respect to the installation, and Mr. and Mrs. Kendrick, if you could confirm, I believe the fence is 6 foot height plus the lattice, 1 foot lattice topper, so 7 foot total.
Yes, that's right.
Correct, yeah.
And it's going to go on the inside of the stone wall?
Yes.
It was going on the inside, so further into nearer to the house, several feet, but the inside of the stone wall, which actually only overlaps with the stone wall for several feet. This because the stone wall kind of doesn't go along the whole length
it peters
out basically, yeah.
Okay.
So it's yes, but in any case, the portion that does parallel the stone wall will be on the inside. Yes, no trees have to come down at all, so it's just kind of straight line there.
Okay, thank you. We'll turn it over to the commissioners to see if they have any questions. Patrick, if you can start, please. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Grabulis?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott?
No questions. Thank you.
Matt?
No questions. Thank you.
All right. And Liz?
No questions. Historic district had no problems.
Correct. This was reviewed and approved by the historic district last Tuesday.
Okay, no questions then.
Thank you. And James?
No questions.
All right. And I do not have any questions either. This fence will not be obstructing any views for us. Hopefully it will help you, Mr. and Mrs. Kendrick. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we vote on this matter?
Can't think of anything.
No, it'll be a real pleasure having it. We want something that looks nice, and we look forward to being able to have it. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Wonderful. All right, I need a motion and a second, please.
Yeah, Patrick Carrier. I make a motion to accept the request for fence exception presented by Stephen and Elizabeth Kendrick at 2 Mountain Spring Road.
Any second?
Liz Sanford, I second.
Any discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I think it was unanimous. So the application is approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you for calling in.
We'll see you. Bye now.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. The next item that we have is we need to accept an application from Anna and Piotr Kowalski. We need a motion and a second, please.
Yeah, Patrick Carrier. I'd like to make a motion to accept the application by Anna and Piotr Kowalski at 10 Lexington Drive for special permit for installation of accessory structure in the R20 zone and schedule a public hearing with a recommended hearing date of April 25th, 2022.
Second?
Scott Halstead, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're good. So that one is on the agenda. Okay, so that's it for new business. Now on to public hearings. The first item is an application from Claudia's Gourmet Coffee and Deli. It's an application for a restaurant use at 1024 Farmington Avenue, BR and FW zones. And who do we have?
I believe we have the applicant, Mike Serena, on.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
Okay, Mike, can you give us your full name and your address for the record and then explain to the commission what you would like to do?
Sure. Michael Serena, 94 West Street in Cromwell, Connecticut, business address 1035 Farmington Avenue in Farmington. We are looking to get a restaurant permit use for the 1024 Farmington Avenue across the street, which is the former driving range building, which is now vacant. We'd like to move our current business from where we are now to across the street for a variety of reasons, including a new layout, something better. We're just kind of outgrowing the current building we've been in for the last 25 years. It's just very small, and our business has expanded quite a bit over the last few years. More parking, because parking's been quite an issue in the lot the last year or two with some new tenants that have been coming in. And, you know, just the overall more foot traffic on that side of town. We'd like to, you know, kind of offer more to the community as far as, to expand our business hours, to offer, you know, grab and go sandwiches, grab and go meals, maybe a possibility of a beer and wine permit, so on and so forth. So I just think it would be a great use of space for the building that's there right now, since it's not being used at all. So if anyone has any questions, you know, I'm more than happy to answer them, of course. You know.
Okay, thank you. So this is a public hearing. You'll hear from the commissioners first and then anyone in the public. But thank you for the background and letting us know what the need is and what you plan to do with the space.
Of course.
Of course. Commissioners, questions for our applicant, Patrick?
The only question is I missed the first part. You said you're across the street right now?
Yeah, we're at 1035. So that's right across the street at Roundhill Square, where that standalone building is. Looks like a little house. So we've been there for about 25 years, and we've already updated the building twice. We've done a 300 square foot expansion about 15 years ago. And about 2 or 3 years ago, we did like a minor facelift inside just to give it a spruce up and made it look a little nicer and better and more modern. But the building's quite old and it's kind of dated, and it's just, you know, so we don't own the building either. So we're just really don't want to put any more money into it. And the layout that's currently there, if anyone's been in there, it's a little kind of funky compared to what the layout could potentially be across the street, which is a wider building. Plus it's at least another 300 square feet, I believe, which would make a huge difference actually for us. So, yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Okay, yeah, thank you. No, I got that. I was going to ask what the plan was for that building, but obviously it's rented, so you're just moving out of it.
Yeah, pretty much. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Patrick. Mike?
So you aren't going to share space with any type of driving range, the paying for the golf balls and stuff. How is that taking place now?
So Josh is
yeah, I'm on, Mike. Josh McKim, representing T4 Driving Range LLC, which is the property owner and also operates the driving range. We went to an automatic ball dispenser that actually sits adjacent to the outside of the building. So the ball machine will still be active and used. It'll just be on the outside of the building.
Okay. No further questions. No, nice to see a change in parking too for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Scott?
Probably a silly question, but the driving range next door, the patio area, that's not in the line. It might be with me if I'm golfing there, but is it in the line of fire of the driving range? And is it protected?
No, that's
maybe I'm not seeing the angle.
Mike, do you want me to take that one?
Yeah. Why don't you take that?
So it's actually like the last 5 hitting bays that aren't really that great of an angle anyway, because it kind of aims at the corner of the fenced area to the left. So we proposed actually removing like those last 5 hitting bays out and converting that already paved section where that was highlighted.
Okay. Yeah, no other questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt?
Thanks. Just a quick one off that. So the patio area, does it exist today, or is that something that needs to be built?
No, it's already paved down there, but we would just modify that area a little bit. The plan was to probably put like kind of a what is the word? Kind of like a artificial turf down there, and build like a little fencing around that to kind of enclose it to make it, you know, nice and aesthetically pleasing. So obviously also if there's a beer permit involved, obviously Liquor Commission wants that area enclosed anyway. So it would be definitely like an actual patio area. So it would just be modified slightly, if anything.
Got it. Thank you. I'm good.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Liz?
Well, since we're talking about that patio, would there be any sort of protective screening? And do we neither? I haven't been to the driving range there in ages, so I can't exactly remember, but would you need any safety measures for the patio?
No, so already on those last 5 hitting bays, so currently there's already people that are actively in those bays that are adjacent to the other bays. It's just at a weird kind of angle. We would keep the barrier from the last golfer there, but it's kind of in line with them where it doesn't come into play from the tee line of the other hitting bays.
Okay. And I was gonna follow up about the dumpster and everything. On that, that's what circled as 2, correct, on the map?
Yeah, hold on. Let me see.
And
sorry, it's first time
using Zoom. I'm sorry, that's what we're seeing.
Yeah. I don't really have too many opportunities to Zoom when I'm making sandwiches. That's why I saw. Yeah.
Is that already existing, or would that be a new area?
No, that would be a new area. It's already paved. So it's kind of a interesting little, I noticed that when I was trying to figure out where the best place to put it that's out of the way and easy to access for a truck to come in, take it, so it doesn't tear up grass or anything like that. So there's actually like kind of 2 sort of vertical spots that you would kind of have to parallel park in there. So we actually discussed it amongst each other. We were like, that's probably the best place to do it. So the idea is we'd like to, we'll build a corral that'll color match the building. So when you're driving by, it doesn't stick out like, you're seeing 2 ugly dumpsters there. We want it to be as clean and aesthetically pleasing as possible. So yeah, so I think that's also good because it's just out of the way. So you won't even see it. You probably won't even notice it until you actually have to look at it. So.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like a good solution, getting it accessible, but out of the way and out of line of sight. So, okay. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, Liz. And James?
Yeah, all my questions surrounded the patio area. Myself, I'm a frequent visitor to the range and also to Claudia's in general. So I can attest to the parking issues that you have. So I don't have any other additional questions. It looks like everything is pretty well taken care of here. So
thank you. All right. So Claudia, as you're moving from across the way to existing space, are you going to have the same hours?
Actually, we're hoping to have longer hours. So coinciding with the range, especially in the summer, being open till at least, people are playing till dusk. We'd like to keep it open till at least like 6 or 7, maybe. We'll have to play it by ear, but I think it'll be good because we'd like to expand our menu and do grab and go stuff. Dinner options for people. They can just come in and call ahead and say, hey, can I get like a thing of cutlets with some of this and that for the family? Yeah, all right, cool. So yeah. Now that staffing is starting to get a little easier, it'll be much easier to hire more people. So on and so forth.
So can you just tell me again what your hours you think will be?
Right now we're 11 to 3. I'm hoping to do maybe at least like 11 to 6, maybe for the new place, maybe possibly 7. We'll have to play it by ear and see how things go for that. But yeah, I'm thinking at least 11 to 6 for the new hours for the summer at least. So probably maybe a little pulled back during the winter time, but not by much, maybe 5-ish. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you changing the lighting at all?
No, lighting seems to work pretty good the way it is. So yeah, I think everything works. It's lit up pretty well over there. So.
Okay. And Shannon, I guess more question for you with the outdoor patio, like that follows like the COVID extension or like that was recently done, or is this something that we approve forever for this space?
So this would be part of the application for this space. And we feel, I believe as outlined, there's 6 to 8 patio tables with 12 to 16 seats total, two seats per table with another 4 seats inside. There's plenty of parking at this location, and it's demonstrated here on the survey. So even with the driving range and the mini golf, I think typically those peaks aren't the same time. And aside from very rare occasions and special events, I don't think I've ever seen the parking lot full. So I think both Mr. Sear and I took a look at it and did not have a concern with parking.
Okay, very exciting. It's definitely a very popular destination, both the golf and the sandwich shop. So that's awesome.
Yeah, great.
And what if application is approved this evening? What's your timing?
We're hoping to open by the summer.
Okay.
You know, pending, of course. You know, obviously we have electrician, plumber, contractor ready to go. We got to sign everything signed, and we hope to start work as soon as possible.
Okay. Thank you. All right, since this is a public hearing, if there's anyone that wishes to speak in favor or opposition of this application, this is your time. Shannon, you'll take over.
Yep. So if you've called in and wish to make a comment regarding this application, please raise your hand using the feature in Zoom, and you will be acknowledged to address the commission with any of your questions or comments. Again, one more time, if anyone is called in regarding this application, please raise your hand using the feature in Zoom, and you'll be acknowledged to address the commission. Madam Chair, there are no hands raised.
Thank you. Commissioners, before I close this public hearing, any last minute questions for the applicant?
Madam Chair, Mike Rabulis. Quick question for the property owner, Josh. I know this property's been for sale here and there over the past little bit. What is the intention if this property were to go up for sale and this was sold?
I can't really speak on behalf of that. I'm representing obviously the Tomaso family as the LLC. You know, one stipulation that we did ask was, you know, to keep the property flexible in this to, you know, not, it's a great question. Wish I could really kind of dive into it, but the one thing that we asked was to keep, you know, flexibility in the lease in case something were to come up. Was kind of our one thing, but as of right now, there is no plans in the near term, if not, you know, midterm for this property. We're very happy with the driving range there and actually really look forward to the possibility of creating, you know, the perfect kind of, you know, date night with being able to have dinner, you know, hit some golf balls and then also play putt-putt and have ice cream and then head home.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't change anything for the application, just more of a curiosity question, but thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm curious too. It's just one that time will tell, but nothing right now. We're very happy with the driving range and with the boom in golf since the pandemic really hit.
Perfect, thank you.
Good question, thank you, Mike. All right, so at this point, we're gonna close the public hearing. I need a motion and a second before we discuss the reasons to support or deny this application.
Yeah, Patrick Carrier. I make a motion to approve the application by Claudia's Gourmet Coffee and Deli for special permit for restaurant use at 1024 Farmington Avenue in a BR and FW zone.
Second.
Liz Sanford, I second.
Thank you. All right, discussion, comments from commissioners?
Yeah, so Patrick Carrier. I mean, the only question I have is there were items for consideration. So assuming maybe we'll amend the motion and add it. But other than that, I support the project.
Everyone else read the items for consideration? Commissioners?
Yes.
Okay. Concerns with what Patrick just suggested?
Yeah, so just the two items that were, I'm assuming that we would add that in the motion.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Okay, so would you like me to do that now?
Sounds like it, unless anyone else has any comments, commissioners. Yeah, go ahead, Patrick.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Patrick Carey, I'd like to amend my motion to include 2 items for consideration. All improvements shall be consistent with the flood protection overlay zone requirements in Article 2, Section 17, as may be required by town staff, and that signage requires a separate permit.
And Liz, if you're in agreement, would you second that amendment since you seconded the motion to begin with?
Liz Sanford, I second that amendment.
Okay, great. We have a motion and a second. Let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're good. Thank you. Application is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
You got it. Thank you.
Everybody has a great night. Thank you.
You too. You too. We'll be visiting you this summer.
Yeah, sounds great. Looking to having everybody. All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. You too. All right, the next item for public hearing is an application from Amy Blades for special permit for expansion of a home located at 36 Redcoat Lane, R30 OS zone. And who do we have?
I believe we have Amy and her attorney on.
Yes.
The application.
Madam Chair, Patrick Carrier, I just want to remind you that I'm recusing myself from this one.
Yep, and Mike also.
I believe,
Mike,
right, Commissioner Gerbulis, you also are recusing yourself, correct?
Correct, recusing myself. Thank you.
Yep.
so James, you are a voting member for this one.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
So just that will leave us with 5 voting members for this application, just as a point of reference for everyone.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm sorry, applicant, you can go ahead and introduce yourself and discuss your application for the commission.
Yes, my name is Scott Matney. I'm the attorney for the applicant, Amy Blades, who's to my left. She's at 36 Redcoat Lane, and she's brought the application, as you know, seeking a special permit for an expanded home for master bedroom and living space within a large garage. And as you know, my client did apply last fall, was denied. And to be honest, she was caught off guard by the complaints at the end. And but she listened to the complaints and the concerns of the commission and has made major revisions to her application. I'd kind of like to just delineate those briefly. So the changes to the plans, you have the plans, but the changes to the plans that were previously made is that they reduced the linear feet of the garage by 18 feet, made it shorter there. They changed the layout of the garage so the new door faces the east side of the property and does not face the street. There, yes, you can see the driveway there. They made the driveway more narrow and downsized it by approximately 25%. They changed the garage entry doors from 3 new doors to 1 door that's there now facing, again, not the street. They reduced the size of the living area by the same perspective, but by 18 linear feet. And then there was concerns about the driveway being too close to the stop sign, so they moved the driveway further down the street from the stop sign, approximately 30 feet further. And then they changed the style of the garage and the garage door to be what they believe is much more appealing to the eye. And they made a change to the garage as well, so that it could be more easily converted if the property is ever sold, or in any time in the future, it could be converted, the new garage area, to living space if so desired. And they did all those things just to kind of address some of the concerns. And I know that there's been, I believe, 7 or 8 letters in opposition to this. My clients submitted a number of people in favor of it too, but there were some concerns raised in the letter that I'll try to address, or in the various letters that were concerns that I believe are primarily conjecture. their worries about what might happen, and we don't believe they're really valid concerns with my client's intention. So I want to kind of just answer some of those if I could. So first of all, there's some allegations or beliefs or guesses that this addition might be to make the property be used more for commercial or business use of the property, and that's completely not the case. The concrete business owned by Mr. Daigle, who lives in the property, lists this address with the Secretary of State for contact and mailing purposes, but he does not operate a business out of there. There's no commercial work, no business work that has been done at the home or that will be done at the property. Any vehicle work that is done in the garage is not with other vehicles. It's not with bringing vehicles in. It's only for his personal vehicles. He likes to tinker with cars and motorcycles. That's the only desire. He's not a young spring chicken. He's not looking to do it in the evening. He tells me he usually finishes by 8 to 8:30, somewhere around there. And it's not noisy. So anything to do with this addition, this special permit, has nothing to do with the business or commercial use of the property. One of the letters referenced a trailer as well. And they said that it was a 6-wheel trailer. It's only a 4-wheel trailer. It's a car trailer, and it's allowed to be there with or without this addition, my belief is, by the town regulations. But even despite that, that trailer has been at the property 3 times in 3 years. It's picking up cars, or not picking up cars, but when they're going to car shows, stopping there. So it's been very limited use in that. There was raised with safety concerns. I don't believe that there's any merit to this increasing any safety concerns. There's no more traffic. There's no more additional people, no additional drivers. In fact, it might be less dangerous because of line of sight, because there'd never be a reason for them to ever have a vehicle on the street. So we don't think that those things, would be legitimate as well. And then one of the major concerns that's been brought up is whether this addition fits the character of the neighborhood. And what I'll say is we've looked at this pretty in-depthly, and there's a number of different styles of houses and garages in the neighborhood. It's common in this area to have rooms over the garage. There's a number of houses with 3-car garage. I think one of the people who's even had written the letter has a garage with a 40-foot garage and 3 outbuildings. So this is all very common in the area. And my client spent great time redoing these plans to specifically cause this addition to fit into the style of the neighborhood and to actually be a boon to the neighborhood. So we do think it fits in with the character of the neighborhood. And then lastly, I'll just say that my client submitted 35 Farmington Unionville residents who signed in support of this application. 18 of those are in this neighborhood. This includes the abutting neighbors to the north, the east, and the west. The only objecting neighbor that I believe is right next to my client is actually across the street. And one of the complaints that they raised originally is not wanting to look at the garage doors. Those garage doors have been turned, as I said previously, to face the east, to face one of the neighbors who has been in support of this application. So for all these reasons, we've tried really hard to address the concerns. This is not something that's going to be commercial use in any way. There's no intention of that. So we hope that these things have alleviated some of the concerns that may be there. We're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. All right, commissioners. Sorry, I don't mean to stare at you, Sandy. It's our chance to ask questions before we turn it over to the public. Patrick, do you have any questions? Never mind. Scott, any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I remember this application from the fall. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the changes in the garage. So you mentioned, I think, 18 linear feet. What's the square footage change and bays? I'm trying to make sure I'm on the same page with you on that.
I can get that for you. They'll know the things better than me. So is this the total garage area? is
right,
1590.
And before it was 2026.
So it was about 450, 500 square feet reduction is my belief, if my math is correct. It was it's 1590. This is not the addition. It's 1590 total garage area.
Including
it was
existing,
including what was already there.
Yes.
And then it was 2026
was
the total garage area. I believe that's correct.
Okay, so it's roughly 500 square feet smaller than what was proposed in the fall.
Yes.
And the bays went from 5 to 3. Is that right?
Yes, they have 3. It's basically a 3-car garage with some room for storage. They have a shed that as part of this they were planning on removing, and they'll be storing, snow blowers, lawnmowers, those kind of things. But it's a I think there's 3 garage doors. There's 2 in the what's currently there, and then there'll be a 3rd larger door in the back. And I believe it was asked last time, I wasn't part of it, but I believe it was asked whether you could drive through. You can't do that. So to answer that as well.
Okay. All right. I think that's all the questions I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Matt?
Yeah, thanks. So just back to the garage doors for me, can you just walk me through, the size of the garage doors and, how that relates to like a typical garage door at a, typical, 2-car garage?
Yeah, so obviously the 2 garage doors that are currently there are basically remaining the same. I think that they're being moved over. They're moved over a little bit because Amy has a hard time with the getting out of the car now. So those doors are moved over a little bit, and there's a walk-in door, which you can see in the plan there. That's in the current garage area that's there, basically. It's a little bit wider, but then the garage door in the back. Do we have something as to show the side? Hold on 1 second, I'm sorry. So I don't know, maybe Shannon, are you able to show the garage door? That's the new garage door. It's on
She's showing it.
Oh, yeah, there's actually a mock-up of, I don't know if you can see which one I'm talking about, that one.
So this shows the dimension. It's 12 foot 10 inches coming into the rear. And then this shows the schematic of, it's meant to look like a barn door, but I believe it is listed as an overhead door. So this would, although it looks like a barn, it's not going to slide or swing open. It'll operate like a regular garage door, just with the appearance of barn door. And that's 12 foot 10 for that one door based on the plans provided. And then the
12,
2 doors.
Excuse me, Shannon, I think it's 12 by 10, I'm being told.
No, the door is 12 foot 10.
Oh, she's showing.
That's the height.
Oh.
Height.
Oh, it's 12 wide, 10 high.
Oh, it's 12.
It's 12 wide, 10.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, they're under the impression it's 12 wide and 10 high.
Okay.
Yes.
That's fine. And then this door at the front it says 9 and 8. So I guess we'd use 9 wide and 8 high.
Yes. Yes, that is correct.
Is that 9 wide, 8 high? Is that a standard?
That would be, our parking stall is 9 feet wide. So in order to pull in and out in an SUV and have clearance for an SUV, that would make sense.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, no other questions at this time.
Thank you, Matt. Liz?
Yes, I have a question about the height of the garage addition versus the height of the existing house. I'm not so good at, I'm learning to read plans and on a computer. So so the garage area is going to be a new 2-story structure.
Yes, there's a living area above the garage there.
Not that one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This one, right?
No, that's open. So
oh, okay. It's over the existing garage is where the existing yes. Yes. That would be like the exercise room or the game room there.
And so that is 8 feet.
I believe they're telling me that I believe it's about 8 feet from ceiling to floor.
Okay, inside the internal height.
Inside, correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
8 feet. Okay. Now, so this is what we're looking at. I don't know if you guys are seeing the same screen I am. That's the 2 garage doors. So that's the existing garage with the new second floor added, correct?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then the dormers along the side, those are for aesthetic reasons, not necessary.
Yes, it's not living space there. No.
Okay.
That's correct.
And then the new garage, what is the height of the garage? Is it a 2-story high garage internally?
Does it show, here, look here and tell me. I'm like you, I'm trying to remember the plans and read them correctly. I'm sorry. Hold on a second. I'm trying to get that for you here.
Take your time. I'm just curious to.
So 8, the 7th floor.
But this is, oh, here, this one.
No, this is the dormer. So, but
you're asking for not the space without the living area, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
That's the part I'm looking at.
It'd be the same height. Be the same height as what the other area is.
Okay, so the garage is not open to the roof. Is that what you're saying? That's what I am.
No, it is. Yes. No, the new garage area is open. It's got a higher ceiling. Yes, it's yes, it's got a higher ceiling. It's an open area. The garage there is bigger. It's more open. There's no living area above it.
Okay.
It's the same height as the other structure, but it's not, there's no living space there.
Okay, so internally there isn't a second floor over the road?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. I'm just thinking. I think that answers it for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And James.
Yeah, I wasn't a part of the commission at during the fall, but I just happened to be in attendance of that meeting just to watch and learn. So I do remember some of the discussion that was around it. And I also, read through some of the complaints and things like that. Are you planning on installing a hydraulic lift into this garage? Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. There's never been a hydraulic lift considered. He has an electric lift that would be used, that he uses when he works on his own cars, that he would probably be looking to put that in there to work on, again, his own cars and vehicles, but it's not a hydraulic lift, it's an electric lift. That's, it's not uncommon in those situations.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification. And also just to confirm, no commercial use.
Absolutely not. And I've spoken in depth with them about that. There's no intention of that. There's no desire for that. It's, I think that's part of the reason why they were kind of taken back by the concerns, because that's never been a desire or an intention. They like the neighborhood too. They don't want to change that and have no desire to do so.
Yeah, it's just got a prominent spot on the corner there. I think that's the primary concern, right? At an intersection. And then last question with regards to the second driveway that's being installed. I know you moved it further down the property, away from the stop sign, and you said that that's within regulation to be, to be that down further. How far is it from the stop sign?
It was 30 feet farther than where it was before. Do we know the exact? I mean, and if I say 30, that was our approximate belief as to what it was, but it's.
Right, the stop sign is.
I don't know that it shows us here. You might be able to guess there again from some of those numbers, but because here's the, well, I'm pointing at things you can't see. You can see the start of the driveway from, they think it's 92 feet is their quick calculation as to it.
Okay. Yeah, that looks about right if I'm adding 42, 29, and 28.
Yeah.
Okay. And then last question. I mean, what does the lighting look like on the east side where the new garage door is going to be?
The
as
lighting,
well as the, yeah.
On our property or on the street, are you asking?
On the property.
I don't understand.
Like, is there going to be additional lighting that's added?
I think, I don't know that we're opposed to that. There's no intention to make it brighter in some way that'd be negative. There might be some lights that are put there, you know, whatever, safety, those kind of things, visibility, but there's not like looking to put any lights to shine for outside work or anything like that. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, it's just one or, you know, floodlights, things like that.
Yeah, no, they're not looking to do any work outside, you know, of any significance, you know, other than what anybody might do. But no, there's not going to be any bright lights, nothing like that. Maybe house lights like anybody might have, just again, to make it look nice. We don't, you know, my clients have no desire to offend their neighbors or to make it look in a negative way. They want to, you know, have it increase in value like everybody else. And so anything they do would be aesthetically pleasing and not designed for some bright outdoor work or anything like that.
Thanks. And then last but not least, just wanted to talk about noise. Right, I think there's just a concern about the noise and for all of the people that are in attendance, whether they support or are against the project. There was a lot of concern about the noise. So if you can address some of those concerns, I think that would be helpful for everybody.
I think from my, you know, recollection of the letters, it seemed to me that those were not necessarily related to any complaints of noise already, but more as to a fear of what the noise might be as a result of car working. Like I indicated, most of the work that my client would do on his cars would be inside the garage. It would be during daylight hours. You know, he's not looking to do it late in the evening. He says he doesn't have any desire to do anything past 8 or 8:30. So, and the work that he's done is not loud noise anyway. It's not, it'd be normal daytime noise. A guy tinkering with his vehicles. There's no intention of noise. And I don't think that there's been, to my recollection, I don't recall there being complaints of noise that in the past from him, and there's no looking to change that in any way.
And I'm sorry, I know I said last but not least, but I tricked you. I got one additional question. So going through the list of folks that you had in support of the project, it looked at that there were roughly, I know you said 17 or 18 people that live in like on Whispering Rod or Redcoat Lane. So that represents about 8-ish locations within those two streets that are really in concern here, out of 50 plus residences. Just wanted to ask the applicant that, you know, how much more work did you do to get more people on your side within the residents? Because it seems like it's a kind of a light number compared to how many residents are there.
They actually complained to me today. They said, you know, they said that if we had done more, we could have gotten more. They were at several houses that people weren't home. They were confident would support them. There's other people who have said they were going to support them, but then when they actually went to get the signatures, they either weren't home or they started collecting them just in the past few days, I believe, which may have been, they maybe could have done better with that, but they don't believe. I mean, like I said, they were kind of surprised at some of the negativity before, and generally speaking, they've always had a great relationship with their neighbors, and they have not heard, for the most part, there's been a number of people who've indicated support to them who aren't even on the list. So,
yeah, and I mean, I'll get to this at the discussion piece, but that was just a point of I guess concern. I mean, if there was concern about the negativity prior to, when we went through this back in the fall, and the work for getting people on their side was just done in the last few days. I feel like it's a missed opportunity. But that's for another day. Thanks for answering the questions. I appreciate it.
May I add something, sir? So the last time we did have the support from our neighbor to the east, to the west, and also to the north, just like we do today, in addition to other neighbors across the street in the same area. The reason the last time I didn't really pursue anything, because I was under the impression that those were really the most important neighbors, because they're the ones that are closest to the property, and they're the ones that really are going to see it more than anybody else. So we didn't even think to really go and ask anybody else.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Great questions, commissioners. And then I just have a couple comments. I don't have any new questions. Just piggybacking on the list of supporters, the signatures from folks that don't live in the neighborhood, I don't think they're relevant, but thank you. And then, it's not a normal garage. And I understand, and I hear the applicant and what has been described as a use, but I think that this clearly invites inappropriate business use. And I think that's what we're hearing from the neighbors. I guess with that segue, let's open it up to the public and see who's here in opposition or support of this application.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I can, I'm going to run through the written correspondence
Sure.
that we received, so I make sure to get that on the record. In the meantime, anyone that has called in, if you do wish to add verbal comment or ask questions, please raise your hand using the feature in Zoom. And once we go through the written correspondence, we will start going through folks that have called in. So with that, we did receive correspondence. I believe this is from the Bartukas regarding Redcoat, 36 Redcoat Lane. I am not going to read these in verbatim. These have been provided to the applicant in advance and to the commission in advance, and are being shown on the screen, which is being recorded. So it'll be captured for the record.
So this is opposition?
This is an opposition, a request in the application be denied. This is Joan and William Bartuka. And their documentation that they supported or sent in, excuse me. This next is documents. This is from, it's not popping up for me, from Clerkin. So this is dated March 16th, letter that was submitted. Again, this was shared with the commission and the applicant in advance of the meeting. This is from Edward and Diane Clerkin at 48 Redcoat Lane. And it's being shared on the screen for recording. From March 20th, from Betty and Alan Kuykendall at 15 Whispering Rod Road in opposition to the application. This is from March 19th, from Robert Deasy at 45 Redcoat Lane. This is from Catherine Leary at 19 Whispering Rod. And again, in opposition of the application. Email from Eric O'Keefe at 44 Redcoat Lane in opposition. email from Jackie O'Keefe from 44 Redcoat Lane in opposition. And again, these have been displayed on the screen. And they were sent to the commission. I think I deleted one by accident as I was scrolling through. I did. And there's one from Juliana Hotchkiss, again in opposition. Juliana and Edwin Hotchkiss. Okay, and that is all the written correspondence that was received regarding this matter.
Okay.
And I will go to folks that have called in.
Okay.
Okay. So again, if you have called in and you wish to speak or ask questions regarding this application, please raise your hand. You'll be called on to address the commission. We will take all comments and then the applicant will have an opportunity to respond. When you are addressed, please provide your name and address for the record. And the first one, we have a Jose Ruiz. So.
Hi, good evening. The name is Jose Ruiz. I'm at 20 Whispering Rod Road. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be heard. The first comment that I want to make is that I am not opposed to the expansion of the living quarters. I think the applicant has done a pretty good job. Having said that, just like in the fall, I still have concerns about the proposed garage. It's been stated that the purpose of the garage, which has been modified, and I appreciate, the fact that modifications have been made. However, it's been stated that the purpose of the garage is to work on the applicant's cars and motorcycles. Yet, if I understood correctly, the door is 10 feet high, which seems awfully high for, a garage that the intent is to be only used for, cars and motorcycles. With regards to the question of the height of the ceiling, I would have liked to have heard an actual numerical value rather than it's just so. And with regards also to, making a difference between, it's not a hydraulic lift, it's an electric lift. Well, it's still a lift. Some of these electric lifts, the purpose is to major, work on cars, not just your average, tinkering with a car that, folks on average might do. So again, the expansion of the living quarters, I have no objection. It's again the garage, and I know that it's been stated that it's not going to be used for commercial, but the square footage, things like 10 feet, entrance, it lends itself, for the temptation being there for the future, and frankly, there's no guarantee that in the future that would not happen, so with that, thank you very much.
Yep, thank you. Bill Bartuca, you can unmute your microphone and address the commission.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, Bill Bartuca, and I live at 50 Redcoat Lane. And I think, first of all, hearing or listening to the argument relative to, that was presented, there's a lot of opinion and perspective in that argument, and I think that's where we see things a little differently. And I just wanted to point that out. There's relative to also what the prior person said. But my viewpoint of this is the application design still has some of the same issues as the prior 2021 application. It appears that one bay was removed. If you look at the design, there's enough square footage to put 4 cars in that footprint. So whether you have one door or you have, 2 doors, it's a matter of the square footage. It still has oversized doors, which would be more of a commercial presentation, commercial intent. And I think that's a lot of the discussion as well. Intent. Okay, what is intent? Well, right now, our intent could be all wonderful, but 2 months from now, the intent of the use of the garages could change quite dramatically. As the prior person stated, the electronic lift, well, you have an electronic lift, it doesn't matter whether it's hydraulic or whatever propels it, it's how big it is, what's being done with it. You have ceiling height in there that's quite extensive. So it'd be interesting to how high the lift lifts the car. Again, the point being is future intent on what you could use the space for, whether it's third-party repairs, commercial or what have you. I too agree with there's no issue with the living space addition. It's all about what could it be is being presented as the commercial space or potential third-party non-standard kinds of work. The safety issues I think have been addressed both in the meeting, but if the traffic picks up as to what is being done with the property, that I think is what the safety concern was. So with that said, still opposed to the changes that have been made to the garages. I still think it has the same disadvantages as it had before. And it is, I don't view it as to the contrary of how it was presented, that it's going to enhance the neighborhood. I think it's a disadvantage to the property values in the neighborhood. And also precedent setting to the design of the neighborhood. So I don't agree that it's in the proper, the design of the neighborhood properties that are currently existing. So with that, I'm going to yield the floor back. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and also voice a different perspective.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, last call for public comment regarding this. If anyone else has called in that would like to speak. Okay, we do have another one. Sarah Ringett. Sarah, you can unmute your phone and address the commission if you'd like.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So this is Sarah Ringett, 17 Whispering Rod Road. I want to commend the applicant. I think they have done a good job of trying to address the concerns. My main concern is that there's still an oversized garage here, which if it weren't going to be used for commercial purposes, I don't see why we would need to have an oversized garage door opening. I think you would have a more regular standard size opening in this back garage bay. And that would make me feel more comfortable about the future utility of this kind of space. Because with the size of it, it seems that you could bring a larger vehicle inside, which I think is detrimental to what the neighborhood is trying to prevent. So it could potentially bring a commercial vehicle inside that garage. So with that, I'll just end and say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Leary, if you want to unmute your microphone, you can address the commission, please.
Yes, good evening. My name is Catherine Leary. I'm at 19 Whispering Rod Road. And I would like to ask the commissioners before they vote on this, whether in favor or opposed, to please drive down our street, Whispering Rod Road, drive down Redcoat Lane, and approach also from Silversmith Road to see this intersection and to judge for themselves the appearance of this addition which is not really an addition to the living quarters. It is a garage addition. And let's call it what it is. It's a garage addition. And I object on the grounds that I do not think it fits with the neighborhood. If you look at other additions that people have made to their homes here, they are lovely additions, and no one has spoken against the appearance of any of those additions. But I would like to ask the commissioners to please, before you vote on this, drive through our neighborhood and look at what this addition represents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'm not sure. Mr. Ruiz, did you raise your hand again for another comment, or are you all set? Nope. Okay, I guess he's all set. All right, if anyone else has called in to speak regarding this application, has any comments or questions to address the commission, please raise your hand and you will be called on to address the commission. Again, anyone else that is called in to address the commission. Okay. Juliana Hotchkiss.
Yes, hello, my name is Juliana Hotchkiss. I own the home at 40 Redcoat Lane. I agree with my neighbors that I disagree, that I don't agree that this addition meets with the look of our neighborhood. I think it's a garage addition, it's a storage addition. There's a bunch of asphalt being included in the back. We're gonna have a new parking lot in the backyard. I'm gonna be looking at it, and so I don't like it, and I agree with my neighbors and the things they've said against it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone, last call. If you have comments, please raise your hand using the feature in Zoom, and you will be addressed to, or acknowledged to address the commission. All right, Madam Chair, there are no more hands raised at this point.
Okay. So let's, okay. Does the applicant wish to make a comment or respond to any of the comments you just heard?
If I can briefly, I'll just say a couple things. If you look at the letters or even some of the comments, well, I don't mean any disrespect. The people were polite and I appreciate that. But there's a lot of statements in the letters that, again, are just not accurate. You know, when they say stuff about this to drive through, or that the intent is commercial, or these kind of things like this, those things just are actually incorrect. And there's a lot of other just surmises, again, you know, like, you know, why would you use electric lift? Well, all kinds of people working on cars do. As somebody who would come and take a car to a car show is the type of person who would want to do that. As to the height of the garage door, ironically, Mr. Daigle, who lives with Miss Blades, parked at my work today when he came to see me, and he's got his pickup truck that he drives has big tires, so the car is the pickup truck is higher. So for it, he actually took a picture of it going into the garage as it currently is, and you can see it just doesn't work. And so the reason for a height is just simple things like that. There's other things in the letters. They like point at the pickup truck and say it's a tow truck, and I just think we're like saying it's a parking lot. You can look at the actual driveway and see the spot of that. The proof of what the driveway set up. I just don't think the things that are being brought up are legitimate. They're based on, well, what if? Well, what if this brings more traffic? There's no evidence that it would bring more traffic. There's no belief that there's more people moving in or they're going to drive more cars. There's none of those things. And my clients have said exactly the opposite. So I think that the arguments about all those things just really don't go against what my client's intention was here. And certainly he does want to work on his cars in there. That's a normal thing. And so that's certainly true. But I don't think the other things that they're relying on in their letters are valid concerns. And if we punish everybody based on what somebody might do 2 owners down the road as to what they could possibly do with the property, you know, again, that's not what our intent is here. And certainly it seems to us that this is a rather reasonable request. Anything further from my client?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for listening to us.
Absolutely, thank you. That's why we're here. All right, commissioners. So I'm referring to Scott, Matt, Liz, and James. Do you have enough information for the vote? Do you have any questions before I close the public hearing?
Madam Chair, it's Scott Halstead. I have one more quick question. What's the acreage of the property? What's the overall size of the property?
0.51.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I just have one, Madam Chairman. This is Liz Sanford. Just another quick question. The new paved area outside the proposed new garage. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. How big is that paved area? Because that's a lot more asphalt on a lot.
I'm sorry, because I was looking at something else. I missed the beginning of your question. If you can say that again.
I was just wondering how large the new driveway area is, how much new pavement is going to be included, because it's not a huge lot. You know, you worry about drainage and
sure. They have made just to answer your second part first. They have made modifications or whatever. It says on the map there, it says install right here. You can see at the bottom of that page on the screen, install T and riser grade with grade to overflow. And all that's determined is there to ensure that there is no drainage problem, I believe. Is that correct? Yep. And then as to the size of the driveway, we can probably calculate that. Do we have a general idea? Yeah, I believe it's only like basically they basically made it slightly larger, you know, enough for one car to get through on the driveway section of it. But it's at the top, it's 28 by 24. Is that correct? So it's one car, it's 12 feet wide going back. And then the square at the back of it is 24 by 28, I believe.
It's roughly, Liz, I just did, because it looks like a square. So this is 29. I assumed it was 29 wide. You're looking at about 840 feet. I think I did 28 by 29 plus this tail. This chamber here is for the roof runoff. So the roof runoff is going to come into this underground filtration chamber. The driveway, should it be approved, we'll look at it from a building plan standpoint, and it will likely be graded to drain into the yard area.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, I thought the drainage areas were for roof drainage. Okay, thank you. That answers my question.
Thank you. Good questions. Commissioners, we're good? All right. At this point, I would like to close the public hearing. And before we have discussion, I need a motion and a second to support or deny this application, or the discussion is to support or deny, but I need a motion and a second, please.
This is Scott Halstead. I make a motion to accept the application from Amy Blades for a special permit for expansion of home located at 36 Redcoat Lane, R30 OS zone.
Commissioner Hall said, just to confirm, when you use the term accept, you mean approve?
Oh, I'm sorry, approve, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That was a good catch. How about a second, please?
Liz Sanford, I'll second.
Thank you. All right, discussion. I'm just gonna go one by one. Scott?
Yeah, so these decisions I always find to be difficult because the homeowners have rights with their property and to do the things that they want to do on their property. And I'm trying to balance that with our regulation that talks about 30% and uses that, you know, 30% larger. And I think that there's a reason for that. And in this case, you know, a lot of cases when we see that, it's on much larger plots of land, it's in neighborhoods that can absorb that. In this case, I feel like putting, what was it, roughly 3,900 square feet of building area on roughly half an acre in this neighborhood, I don't think fits with the character of the neighborhood. I do appreciate the changes that were made, but to me, it seems like it's still just too much building. And again, I don't really have an issue with the residential portion of it either. I think the garage is just too much for this particular neighborhood.
Understood. Thank you, Scott. Matt?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Yeah, thanks, Matt Fegner here. You know, I echo Commissioner Halstead. I lean on the zoning regulations with this one, and that's why they're there. And the regulations here do allow expansion. This is, to me, just above and beyond even that. Also, in addition, for me, I just sort of lean on the neighborhood. Like, what's the fit and feel of the neighborhood? And just hearing from the neighborhood today, you know, again, just makes me feel like, again, this just doesn't fit into the character of that neighborhood.
Thanks. Thank you. Liz?
Well, we got a chorus going because I agree also. I appreciate that neighbors are supportive. I appreciate the idea it's your land, you want to do with it what you will, but I think we go back to the appropriateness for the neighborhood, for the area, and also those regulations that give us guidelines. 30%, that's a, you know, that's a very comfortable addition to add. And I think that it seems that while the living area seems completely appropriate, looks lovely, it'd be nice to have new bathrooms, I feel the garage is too much for the area, and it's the appropriateness is not there.
Okay, and James.
Yeah, echoing fellow commissioners, you know, first, one thing I wanted to add in addition to that is that there was, you know, between public comment and some of the speculation through the letters we've received and things like that, a lot of the property value, potential resale to another owner, the intent, all of those are pretty speculative in nature, and we're not really necessarily here to vote on what the intent of the property owner is, while they do have being respectful of their rights, right, on their property. But, you know, we need to take this at face value. So, you know, with that said, you know, I think the two concerns that I have and will be guiding my vote this evening is the regulations that have already been, have been discussed, but as well as the precedent it sets, you know, within, you know, this particular application. So, you know, I'm leaning on the regulations that we have, the precedent that I would set, and the fit for the neighborhood. Having walked in this neighborhood, campaigned in this neighborhood, you know, I think it seems like it would be an eyesore to me. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you for the discussion. I also feel that the garage dwarfs the size of the home. And I do feel that it will change the look and feel of the neighborhood. And like all of you said, the striking difference between what's allowed and what's in front of us is a striking difference. I don't believe that this application is appropriate for this neighborhood. For the vote, I don't want to assume the comments, and you may change your mind. Let's vote person by person. So we have a motion and a second.
We have a motion and a second, and I'll remind everyone that the motion was for an approval. So yes, you understand how to vote then. And Madam Chair, you'd like me to do a roll call?
Yeah.
Okay. Scott Halstead.
Nay.
Matt Hutt-Wagner.
Nay.
Liz Sanford.
Nay.
James Ratcliffe.
Nay.
And Inez St. James.
Nay.
Okay. Alrighty. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay. The final public hearing item in front of us is application from Town of Farmington for special permit and site plan for construction of new high school located at 10 Monteith Drive, R40 and R20 zones. And Patrick and Mike, you guys are good with this one?
Yep, I'm good. Mike's here.
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, James, you're obviously welcome. We would love to hear from you on your comments, but you will not be voting on this one.
Bummer.
All right, thank you. And Shannon, who do we have?
We have a whole cast of characters. I'm sure not sure who actually is taking the lead, but I know there's a bunch of people on, so whoever's ready, if you could just introduce yourself and introduce the project and get us started, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Meg Guerrera. Can you guys hear me all right?
Sure can.
All right, perfect. So yes, thanks for having us this evening. As I mentioned, I'm Meg Guerrera, the chairperson of the FHS Building Committee. And I'm just going to do a very, very brief intro for our presentation tonight, and then I'm going to hand it right over to our professional partners to provide some additional detail based on the documents you've received to date regarding our discussion tonight. So just as a reminder for everybody, I know we have some new people with us this evening that have been very engaged with the project, but as a reminder, in June of 2021, the residents of Farmington voted by a 2-to-1 margin to build a new high school on the current high school site. Since then, a professional team of architects, project managers, and construction managers are currently working on site plans and the building design. Upon approval of the final design drawings and the site approval by the TPZ, the following tentative scheduled plans for groundbreaking ceremony to be held in the late summer of early fall of 2022. So I'm going to go through a few dates here. I'm going to take a little bit slow, but just to give you a general idea of what kind of timeline we're working on. And then, as I said, we'll get more details on the plan ahead. So this is really looking at an anticipated timeline for the project as of our current state. So we're really going to talk about a start of a conversation that we will begin this evening as well on what we consider phase 1, or what we also refer to as an early enabling package. And the bidding for that right now from a tentative schedule perspective is looking at the April to May 2022 timeline. Phase 1 early enabling would then begin and conclude June 2022 to August 2022, so over those summer months. And we'll talk a little bit more about the importance of that and how that coincides with the school year and why that's so important to us. Really looking at design and approvals, which is scheduled to complete in July of 2022. Bidding and award of our next phase of the project, July 2022 to September 2022. Phase 1 construction of the new building. So this is really when the construction begins, September 2022 to August 2024. So this is the thing that's most important that people like to hear about. So we're looking at students occupying the new high school building in August, September of 2024 upon completion of that new build. So a couple other pieces that follow that. So phase 2, which is renovation of that central office, or the 900 wing, as we refer to it, and demolition. And what the scope of that work will be is still part of continuing conversations, but that time frame is June 2024 to July 2025. And then phase 3, which is the finishing site work. So whatever's remaining after demolition and additional site work that surrounds that. And that's January 2025 to June 2025. So that's really the full view of the project. There was a lot of dates and timelines, but we have all this published up on our website as well. But I did want to kind of give you that perspective as we go into these additional conversations. So the building design and site plan you'll see tonight has been developed through careful consideration by the building committee. So there's been many conversations at the building committee level regarding these designs, district and town representatives, and our professional partners. We, of course, appreciate the critical role TPZ has played in the development of this project through previous reviews and approvals, and we very much look forward to your thoughts and comments this evening. So with that, I'm actually going to turn the presentation right over to Richard from TSKP, our architects, to continue with the conversation.
Thank you.
Great, thanks very much, Meg. And good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Town Plan and Zoning Commission. So we're very happy to be here this evening. Thanks for allowing us to make this presentation. We can start with the slide that you can see right in front of you right now. Oh, before I continue, for the record, my name is Richard Sipek. I'm a registered architect in Connecticut. I'm a partner with a firm called TSKP Studio. We were hired by the town to guide the design of this project. With me are several people. We have Michael Scott from my office in case I need to answer a question. He's here as a resource. Then we also have Mike Segan. He's a landscape architect. We have two people from SL Arc, civil engineers. We have Tom Daly and Emily Foster. So I'll start with this slide that you have right in front of you. This is the view that you would see of the proposed new building looking straight ahead at the main entrance. The composition of the building is a 2-story portion and a 3-story portion. As you can see here, the 3-story portion is on the eastern side of the site. It consists of classrooms. The 2-story portion is the administrative and support spaces, including the auditorium, the gymnasium, and administrative office areas. There's also a music area and so on. That will become a little bit more apparent as to how the building is configured when I get into the presentation a little later this evening, when I will show you the floor plans. But to give you the context of the site and remind you of what occurs on the site, if we could go to the next slide, Shannon. Okay, so this is the survey of the parcel in question. You know where the high school is right now. This is that sprawling, primarily 1-story, although a portion of the building is 3 stories, up to 3 stories, and that's the 1928 building. Thank you, Shannon. As you can see by the cursor, that is where the 1928 building is located. I want to call your attention to that block, as well as to what we have been referring to as the 900 wing. That's right there. Thank you. That's a portion of the building that also will be saved. The 900 wing will be converted into central offices for Farmington Public Schools. The 1928 building has no purpose for the high school. However, at the town council's direction, that portion of the building is going to be saved for potential future uses. Just to orient you from a compass standpoint, north is to the left of this sheet, south is to the right, east is upward, and west is down. And all of the subsequent plans that you will see are oriented the same way. Also to orient you, Route 4 is located on the right side of the sheet. And then you can see Monteith Drive is connected to Route 4. As you come up Monteith Drive to the left, you'll see the existing library building right there and its parking lot. And to the right of Monteith Drive, as you come up, is the town hall. I do want to point out that the site actually is the entire campus that includes the town hall, the library, as well as the high school itself. So I do want to talk a little bit about why we chose this location where you will see we placed the footprint of the new building. And the reason is, quite frankly, is we need to keep the existing up and running as a high school during the construction of the new building. The only place that we could reasonably place the footprint of the new building is approximately that playfield, the ball field that you can see right there, as well as the green playfield area, as well as the tennis courts, and a portion of the existing parking lot. That's the only place we could place the existing building while they are occupying the existing high school. We did look at the possibility of placing it on the upper plateau where there are multi-purpose fields, but quite frankly, that would not make for a very good site plan because we would have a big topographic separation between the building footprint and the rest of the site, such as parking. So our strategy is to keep the upper playfields as playfields. We're going to keep the football field as a football field running track. There's money been invested in that improvement on the site. There's no reason to undo that. And with that, what I would like to do is introduce Mike Segan. He will walk you through the new site plan and explain some of its features. Later, we'll hear some information from SLR engineers, and then I'll wrap it up with some diagrams that illustrate the character of the building. So, Mike, if you could continue.
Sure. Thank you, Richard. I'm Mike Segan with Richter and Segan. We're landscape architects on the project team, and we're running point on the site design. And I'll be providing, as Richard mentioned, an overview of the site design, including the general traffic circulation and parking layout, the new landscaping and planting design, as well as the neighborhood buffer, which I will spend some time talking about. As Richard mentioned, the new school will be constructed on the existing baseball field. The existing high school will remain operational until a new building is constructed. The last drawing of my presentation tonight is the site enabling plan that Meg had alluded to, which illustrates the first phase of construction and how the site is going to be set up to allow for the construction of the new building while the existing building remains operational. But now starting on an overview of the site design and an overview first of the circulation, starting at Monteith Drive, that will remain as the main entry to the site it does now. And the new front entrance to the school is on the south side facing Town Hall. And there's a long walk that extends directly out towards Town Hall in terms of accessing and providing drop-offs. To the left of that, with your back to Town Hall, looking at the front entrance, is the parent drop-off and visitor parking and staff parking. To the right of that, on the other side, is the bus loading, both drop-off and pickup area. And then going back to the top of Monteith, that entrance drive continues straight in around the side of the school to the back, where the probably, I would say, the main staff parking lot is located. Also back there is a gated and enclosed service area as well. Back to the front, at the top of Monteith, if you take a left, you then come into the new staff parking lot. I'm sorry, the parent, let's back up a little bit. The new student parking lot. It's between the library and the proposed BOE central offices. That drive then continues down back behind the library all the way to the 1928 building, which will remain, as Richard mentioned, and ends in a parking lot down there, a smaller parking lot to access the relocated tennis courts and the relocated ball fields that's there. As Richard also mentioned, the existing stadium, track and field, and soccer fields at the top of the hill will be maintained in their existing location. An accessible route will be provided to the stadium bleachers and press box. And the BOE central offices that are located on the new high school campus, for that new facility, we have added 40 parking spaces to accommodate the new offices. The high school campus parking count has increased from the existing 516 spaces to 570 spaces, which is an increase of 54 spaces, and most of that is earmarked for the BOE central office and will be located right around that building. The site design also includes outdoor spaces and a very extensive walk system connecting the new high school building to all parts of the campus, including the parking lots, the various ball fields, and other destination points. We're also providing connections from the high school campus to the town hall and library as well. And we're also maintaining the existing walk connections to the adjacent neighborhood at the Briarwood and Crestwood, and we'll be maintaining those access points during construction, which I will talk about in a little more detail shortly. The overall landscaping plan includes the addition of 14 different varieties of shade and ornamental trees located throughout the new high school campus. The landscape plan also includes an extensive neighborhood buffer, which I will discuss again in more detail shortly. Next slide, please, Shannon. A key challenge on this project is addressing the traffic and circulation issues, especially that occur at the start of school in the morning and at the end of the school day. This is a traffic diagram we put together that shows the proposed traffic and circulation design. It was agreed upon after looking at numerous different options. First, starting at Route 4, Monteith will be slightly widened to provide 2 lanes in both directions. The yellow arrows at the top of Monteith and heading to the right or are the buses and the access that they'll have. They'll have their own lane at the top of Monteith with drop off and pick up at the southeast corner in front of the school. The parent drop are the blue arrows. There'll be 2 queuing lanes for drop off and pick up at the school's main entrance. If the need arises, like it did at the peak of COVID, the drop off and pickup lane can be extended around the side to the back of the school. This adds up to 900 feet of queuing lane if it's required. The student parking access is shown with the red arrows. As I mentioned, the student lot is between the library and the BOE central office. This is really a huge improvement over the existing situation today, where the parent drop and students parking are mixed in the same queue coming into the site, which is one of the reasons that there's occasional backups. Splitting the student drivers off for this will decrease the length of the queue for the parent drop off and lead to a much improved situation. Overall, this new layout has a better separation of both the parent and bus drop off and pickups and the staff and student parking. Next slide, please. In addition to the traffic circulation, a major focus of the site design was the design of the neighborhood buffer along the property line with our neighbors to the east of the school parcel. The main purpose is to create and maintain an extensive buffer in this area. We're very sensitive to this issue and have spent a good deal of time on this. The buffer yard required is a B buffer yard. The proposed buffer yard width and proposed plantings far exceed the minimum required for a type B buffer yard. There are multiple times the number of evergreens and deciduous trees that are required in the B buffer yard. The design approach is to save as much of the mature woods along the property line as possible and supplement that with a heavy planting of evergreen trees and shrubs on the school side where the most light is. The proposed approach to this buffer is different and significant, and I think a significant improvement over the proposed pre-referendum plan. We weren't involved in the pre-referendum design stage. However, that plan called for removal of the trees and clearing along the entire property line up to the property line and adding a berm with nursery-sized plantings and a fence along the property line. Following our involvement and completion of the survey, which located the very extensive vegetation along the neighborhood border, including locating and identifying all mature trees in this border, we walked the border area to evaluate the condition here. The border is mostly a mature deciduous dominated woods with many high quality mature trees worthy of preservation. If you go to the next slide, please. These are some of the photographs I took really at last early fall, except the one in the lower left-hand corner, which was taken in the winter. The top left shows the density of the woods and is typical as you view from the school site towards the neighborhood. The top right shows the density of the woods in one of the sections with a variety of both younger and older trees. And this is the feeling and density you get when you're actually in that border. The two photos on the lower right show just some of the numerous large mature specimen trees. Some of these trees are very majestic and over 70 feet tall. The photo on the lower left, taken with the leaves down, show there are a number of evergreen trees in the existing border. However, we have approached it in a conservative way as being mostly deciduous, and we have approached the buffer in terms of adding evergreens, assuming that it's mostly deciduous. So I think you can see it makes no sense to clear this mature woods and put in a berm and replace the mature woods with nursery-sized trees on top of that berm. Instead, we are preserving as much of the existing vegetation as possible and adding an extensive evergreen border along the school side where trees will get more light and grow in mass together. Also, we have realigned the emergency access drive at the back of the school to preserve more of the tree line, moving it away from the property line in a number of locations. We've also done some additional things to make the buffer as effective as possible. The photo in the middle on the left shows a narrow access through the buffer for the existing pedestrian access from the neighborhood. We're going to keep those pedestrian accesses as narrow as possible to minimize the window, excuse me, into the site. Where we have to widen the opening for the gated emergency access, we've angled the access drive through the planted buffer so the neighbors won't have a straight window or view into the site. In addition, we're also including the buffer plantings as part of the early phase construction plan, which I will show you shortly. Typically, the plantings are one of the last things to be completed at the end of the project, and this will move the buffer plantings to an earlier phase. Next, please. This is the final drawing is the site enabling plan, or the first phase of construction operations. It shows how the site will be set up to allow for the construction of the new high school building while the existing high school continues in operation. This plan is a result of input and coordination with the construction manager, the design team, the school, and town staff. The intent is for most of this work to occur this summer, with the site ready when students and staff return after summer vacation. First is establishing the area for the construction of the new high school building and construction staging area. It'll be fenced off from the high school campus and the surrounding neighborhood, and is shown in the green line here, and you could trace it around the entire construction area. That leaves enough room for construction staging inside that fencing. Access for the construction area will be at the top of Monteith, shown in the purple arrows, and right into the construction area. And obviously access will be restricted and not allowed during the morning queuing and afternoon pickup for the school hours. The parent drop pickoff lanes, temporary and pickup lanes, the temporary runs are shown in blue here, and actually are pretty close to where the existing drop-off occurs now, but they're outside the construction fence. Separating that from a portion of the parking lot that's to remain is also another barrier. And there'll be new access into that parking lot via the red arrows to separate the parent drop-off traffic and the students parking in that lot. To make up for really the parking that's lost in this construction area, a new temporary parking lot will be constructed in the lawn along Farmington Avenue. When the project is completed, the temporary lot will be removed and the lawn restored in its existing condition. Neighborhood access to the school will be maintained throughout the construction period. A paved perimeter walk will be installed outside the construction fencing that connects the two neighborhood access points around the construction site to gain access to the rest of the school campus. And Shannon just traced that route that comes in there. The neighborhood buffer plantings are also part of this phase 1 enabling plan. It could be installed, the plantings could be installed as early as this fall, but most likely will be in the spring of next year due to both plant availability and the best time of year for planting and the ability to construction mobilize. However, that will be a year ahead of when the plantings would normally be done. So it gives them a year jump on things as well. Next slide, please. Yeah, if you can go to the, no, go back one. This is just a slight variation that was recommended. It's an extension at the back of the school if we need to extend the parent drop-off in this temporary construction period. This shows a location at the back of the school that would add some linear feet. This was recommended or suggested by the school and the police department. And so the enabling plan will include the site work necessary to make this happen if this option is needed. So we wanted to, that's also a second built-in, there you go. Shannon is tracing that route. Next one, please, Shannon. So that concludes an overview of the site design as well as that phase 1 enabling plan. Be happy to answer any questions at the end of the presentation. And right now I'd like to turn it over to Emily, the traffic engineer, who's going to talk about the traffic report.
Thanks, Mike. I'm Emily Foster with SLR Consulting. We completed the traffic impact study for the proposed new high school, in addition to working on the site plan and the traffic related concerns. For the traffic impact study, we reviewed the existing conditions, estimated the site generated traffic, and then reviewed the future conditions. For the site, for the trip generation, the high school isn't anticipated to generate any additional trips other than what is expected in increased enrollment. The central business office currently is located at the town hall, and so it'll just be moved over. So no additional traffic is expected along Route 4 or at the intersection of Monteith and Route 4 due to that. We got estimated enrollments from the Board of Education. Today, 1,287 students are estimated to be enrolled, and in 2025, the enrollment is expected to increase by approximately 3% to 1,329. Using the existing counts that were conducted in September 2021, as well as the change in enrollment, we estimate that only 30 new peak hour vehicle trips will be added in the morning peak hour, so during the morning arrival and drop-off period. And then during the dismissal period, so the afternoon peak, we estimate only 14 new vehicle trips. With that, we looked at the future 2025 conditions at the signalized intersection of Farmington Avenue and Monteith Drive. It is not the intersection level of service or the capacity analysis. It's not expected to change with that addition of the few trips. Nevertheless, the intersection is expected to operate at a level of service F, which it does today. These poor operations can be seen today during pickup and drop-off times. The town of Farmington has been studying the intersection of Monteith and Farmington for a while for the extension of Monteith Drive over the Farmington River. In 2018, they prepared a preliminary design report that showed the proposed bridge and also proposed widening to Route 4 to add left turn lanes. It is believed that with these improvements, the intersection operations at the intersection will improve. Currently, the town is studying it further with the Farmington Area Connectivity Study, which will progress the project towards getting funding and through some of the environmental processes.
Okay, thanks very much, Emily. I think we have a few slides of the building itself, which I'd like to share with the commission. Okay, great. So this floor plan, this is the ground floor plan, the first floor plan. Again, the entrance to the building is on the right side of this sheet at the southern end of the building, right there. And as you come in, all the classrooms are located on the right side. You'll see 3 blocks of classrooms, as you can see there. That's a 3-story portion and a 2-story portion. The rear portion, the last block, that's a 2-story portion. And then as you come in, if you look to the left, you'll see the administrative area that's in purple. And then below that is music and performing spaces. There's a black box theater there in orange. And then we have a full theater labeled Area A. And then on the opposite side, you'll see a green area. That green area represents the gymnasium. There's an auxiliary gym, as well as support spaces such as the locker area and weight room. The yellow area between gymnasium area and the auditorium is the dining area. That's the cafeteria, but we see that as the commons area where activity occurs all day long. That area has skylights up above it, so this whole space is filled with natural light. The dark yellow area is the kitchen and servery area. And then in the back, in the gray area, you'll see some service areas, some mechanical spaces, and a loading dock located on the back of the building. Next, please. Next slide. This is the second floor. Again, we have classrooms on the eastern side of the building, and then we have a library or a media center in yellow, centrally located. We have on the right side of this footprint the guidance areas. That guidance in purple is directly above the administrative area. Next slide, please. And finally, the third floor, we have the remaining classrooms. Next slide, please. So these images, these renderings, which were done by computer, illustrate the exterior appearance of the building. We're proposing a red brick. I will tell you that we've talked a lot about this with the committee. It will be a traditional appearance. Red brick is certainly something that we're used to in Farmington. The high school is currently built out of red brick. And so this is consistent with that image. Actual selection of the brick is a long process. We typically do mock-ups of the masonry that the building committee can review. We experiment with different kinds of color mortar because that can affect the appearance of the brick. All of those mock-ups will be done shortly after construction is started. Lastly, if we go to the next slide, we prepared some diagrams that illustrate where the mechanical equipment is located at the roof. The purpose of these diagrams is to demonstrate that you will not be able to see mechanical equipment. And that's an important element here. We don't have any mechanical equipment on the ground. It's not visible. We have mechanical equipment on the roof, which is placed in locations that are out of sight. If we could zoom in on the upper diagram. That is the 2 classroom blocks, and you can see the cafeteria area in glass between the 2 classroom blocks. The only thing you will see in terms of mechanical equipment is the exhaust hood that is labeled right there. That's an exhaust hood from one of the science rooms. If we could zoom out, I could orient you to the other diagrams. Let's look at the bottom diagram if we could. That's the front entrance. Or actually the image just above the bottom image is the main entrance, the front entrance. You'll not see any mechanical equipment from that vantage point. You can see above the administrative area and guidance area, there's a bump. That bump is the roof of the auditorium. That is not a mechanical equipment. On the west elevations, this is where the entrance to the gymnasium and auditorium would occur after hours. You can see just a little bit of equipment. It's actually a roof ladder. That's all you'd be able to see from that elevation. I think there may be one other I want to point out. If we could scroll up. Yes, that right there. So that's the rear elevation. That's where the loading dock is located. We do have an electric transformer on the ground located there. We also have a generator with a screen around it at that elevation. And we do see some bits of mechanical equipment. There's some exhaust fans. Again, you see a roof ladder and the very top of a rooftop unit. That is located right there. So I bring this up because one of the items that we've been talking to the building committee about is whether or not we need screening on the roof to hide this mechanical equipment. I do believe that screening is not required. That would be an expensive proposition. I hope you would agree. I did want to share this with you to demonstrate these images, which again were computer generated, and using a 3D modeling. All of this building is modeled in 3 dimensions, in actual dimensions, including the rooftop equipment. So hopefully you can agree that through this demonstration that the rooftop equipment will not be visible per your regulations. Okay, if we could go back to the site plan, I think we are ready to open it up to questions and answers. Thank you, Shannon.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, commissioners, it's our turn to ask questions. Patrick?
Oh, yeah, I have a question on the temporary parking. How are the kids accessing? Is there an existing stair? I can't even remember that. But how are the kids getting from the temporary parking lot to the school that's existing now?
You'll see on this plan that there's a dash to walk. There you go in blue. So they'll go in front of the library and then back up and then enter the school where they presently do now to drop off.
Okay, yeah, I see that. Thank you. The other question was the generator. Does our school have a generator now?
I believe it does, yes.
Okay. And that generator, what is that? Obviously, I know what a generator does, but like, how big is this generator and what is its primary purpose? I guess, like, what is it doing?
Sure. So the generator is usually included in a school project for a couple of reasons. One is to run certain emergency equipment, such as emergency lights, in the event of a power failure. It's also used to run certain equipment to maintain the freezers and coolers, for example, in the kitchen area in the event of a power failure. The other reason that we often use a generator in a project is to allow for the building to be used when there's a weather event in town and the school needs to function as a warming shelter or a cooling shelter so that the building is operational in the event of a power failure elsewhere in town. Currently, the existing high school is being used as that kind of a shelter. So that's the second purpose of the generator.
Richard, may I add one more comment?
Yes, I'm sorry. I failed to introduce Mark Garilli, another key person in this project. He represents CSG. He's the owner's project manager. Yes, Mark, of course.
Thank you, Richard. Just quickly to note that the central IT system for the town and for the town school system is located, will be located in the high school. So that generator is very important to keep those systems up and running throughout any power failures.
Good point. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, no more questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Mike?
Thank you for the presentation. Obviously, we've been kind of following this over the past year or so from the informal presentations to now. I know obviously the generator is important. Do you have a view of what that generator would look like to the neighborhood?
I don't have a picture. It wouldn't be seen. If we look at this site plan, thank you. And if you could zoom in on the new building plan, the generator is located in that service area, right there.
Gotcha.
So that's an enclosed area. There's a loading dock. There's a generator that would be placed on the ground in that area. So it really is not open to view.
Okay, I'm sorry, I apologize. I thought I was on the north side of the building.
No.
Okay.
It is on the north side of the building, but it's in that service area. That's the north side of the building.
Gotcha. Obviously, there's a lot of engineering comments, several pages worth, and any issues with any of those?
No, what we have done, we have reviewed all of those comments with our design team. We have not had the opportunity to review them with the building committee, quite frankly. We were engaged by the town to work through the building committee. So we would like to have the opportunity to do that, but I don't expect there to be an issue.
No further questions this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Scott?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Very exciting for the town. Question about the parking on this, the final parking plan, I guess. So I know there's a lot of question about what's going to happen with that 1928 building. And even, I guess, what's going to happen with the 900 wing. That parking will absorb whatever uses if 1928 gets turned into office space?
That's a very good question. That needs to be discussed further. Depends upon what the use is of that building. The 1928 building is a 3-story, 30,000 square foot building. If it's filled with offices, I mean, typically you'd have probably 1 space per 100. I shouldn't quote it, but you do need to provide parking space for office use. If it's used as educational purposes, then the parking demand is not as high. So it depends upon what the destiny is of the 1928 building, but that would be an additional load of traffic and parking on the site.
Okay, thank you. And then I know there's been conversations as we've met with you a couple times about green options for the building. Have any final decisions been made about that in terms of solar or any other green efforts?
So the building is designed to be solar ready.
Okay.
In other words, the roof will be designed so that it has the structural capacity to support photovoltaic panels throughout the entire roof. We've done projects like that in the past. We've done solar panels that are an add option that are either purchased through a PPA agreement or it's done outrightly as part of the project. The actual purchase of the photovoltaic panels is not part of this project. However, all of the infrastructure will be there so that they can be easily added, including conduit from the roof that would be connected to the main service panels with a transfer switch. So it'll be photovoltaic ready.
Thanks so much. No more questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Matt?
Hi, thanks. Thanks for this presentation. I appreciate it and looking forward to this starting. So can you, just my question is on lighting. Can you just walk me through kind of the site lighting, especially the lighting, if any, along the sort of emergency access, I guess the side of the site along the neighborhood?
Right, I'm going to rely also on Mike Segan to discuss this. We do have the lighting for the parking. We do have lighting at the entrances to make sure that there are pools of light at those entrances. Regarding the lighting along the emergency access, which has limited access, there's gates at both ends of that, so we don't expect normal traffic there. It's only for emergency purposes. We do need to provide a minimal low-level lighting there, but it will be zero cutoff, not have any light spillage. Mike, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that's right on the mark. You know, those kinds of fixtures always have neighborhood shields on the backside, full cutoffs, LED fixtures at minimal lighting for that back access drive.
Okay, great, thanks. And then for the temporary parking plan, what does the lighting look like for the students walking up that hill? And I'm sort of thinking about the December time of year when it's dark in the morning, and in theory, if we don't turn the clocks back, maybe more dark in the morning. So can you walk me through how that looks?
So the site enabling phase, this early phase, does include parking lot lighting. There will be, in fact, our hope is to reuse parking lot poles and lights that currently exist on the existing parking area that will be removed and saved and then relocated to the temporary parking lot. So they'll be very similar to the parking level lighting that you already have in the existing site. We do have lighting along the library, and then we do need to take a closer look, I admit, for lighting along that sidewalk leading up to a crosswalk that crosses the drive before you come to the building itself. I think the existing building is adequately lit, but we do need to take a closer look at the path that goes across the crosswalk and down the sidewalk of Monteith.
Okay, now I appreciate that. And then just my last question on traffic. Is the current traffic study, how do I think about the 1928 building in the current traffic study? Is it assumed that building will be used for office space, or is there any sort of increase in volume onto the site for that building?
So that would be a question for Emily of SLR. I can see that she's turned off her video. Hopefully she still has her audio on.
I'm still
here. Great. Can you make a comment about that question, about whether your traffic study anticipated any traffic load from the 1928 building?
Yep. So right now the traffic study does not anticipate any additional traffic for that building. So that would be something that we'd have to look into based on the estimated use.
Got it. And the traffic study doesn't include any, or does it include any other projects that are happening along Route 4? Or is it mainly just this site it's looking at?
It includes a general traffic growth that we get from the Department of Transportation. And then it also included a couple planned projects that are in the area into our background condition.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
No additional questions.
Thank you, Matt. Liz?
Thanks again for the presentation. Very thorough. I appreciate it all in front of me. One thing I've noticed, and I'm not sure, down in the temporary parking area, I see you have people walking all the way in front of the library and then up around on the walkway. But there is that set of stairs further to the, is that west?
West, yeah.
West, yes, that set of stairways. Oops. And there I see the green fencing. Is that going to be accessible to people who maybe have to park at the far end of the lot?
We actually spent some time talking about that with our site planners. That walkway is not used in the wintertime. There's a gate at the top, and it does need some attention. We think it would be preferable to close that path and not encourage people to go up in that direction. In fact, that's one of the reasons that we show that green line, which represents a temporary fence. We don't want people cutting across and running down the hill or sliding down the hill in the wintertime down to the parking spaces in the temporary lot. So we really want to funnel pedestrian traffic in a safe route right in front of the library, up the sidewalk, across a legitimate parking crosswalk into the building.
I agree. I think that's wise. I kind of just was thinking about those renegades who want the shortest way, or, you know, homeroom starts in 7 minutes and they got to get there, sort of thing. I think that's it, because I was going to ask about green efforts, but that was asked already. So thank you. I think that answers all my questions.
Thank you, Liz. And James.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I'm sure you guys can probably do this in your sleep at this point, having presented so many times. But no, thanks. It's an exciting project, obviously, for the town. Having been involved in it for a while, it's exciting to see it come to life. And I'm sure you guys feel the same. I know throughout the design process and conversations with the neighborhoods and things like that, Crestwood, Briarwood, Arwood, those roads. I know a lot was made during that process about the berm, the existing vegetation, things like that. And I know Mike did a great job of explaining what the plan is. But can you just talk about, I just wanted to confirm, no berm will be made. It's true.
Correct. No berm.
All right. And then with regards to the plantings, I know a lot is deciduous. There's going to be some evergreens to kind of do a little bit more, blocking of activity and things like that. Is that going to be, are they going to be young saplings? Are they going to be, is it going to be like a mixture of age with regards to what's being planted?
What do you say, Mike? Is it mixed age or is it?
No, they're all specified to meet the buffer yard size requirements, which is 6 to 7 feet.
Okay.
But they're all the things that are added, all the trees that are added on the outside of that buffer are all evergreens. Okay. So we've got plenty of deciduous plants in the existing buffer that we're preserving. So there's no.
I know that that's pretty thick, and the pictures definitely indicated that as well. But I was just more curious as to how much more blocking there's going to be of activity in on the property. That was of primary concern to those neighborhoods. Also, just more of a comment. I'm happy to see that there's a temporary fence there to preserve the sledding hill for the rest of us. They're in Farmington. So, but no, thanks for the presentation. Very thorough. You guys are doing a great job. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, James. Thank you, everyone. I am so excited that you're here presenting the plan for the new high school. It definitely has been a long time coming. So a couple questions from me. The bus loading area, and I'm not an engineer, but it seems really tight. Is it, or it just looks like it on the print?
Yeah, the bus loading area has been reviewed numerous times by the traffic engineers and their turning templates. It is actually a little more generous than what exists out there now. If you know what's behind the high school, the buses kind of load up at the end of the day in this manner. They will come in the morning, obviously, sequentially, and just drop off at the curb. But then at the end of the day, they'll queue up in those lanes and then pull out one at a time when they're full. So yeah, no, this meets all turning radiuses and is double checked by the traffic engineer.
I'm sure it was, but thank you. Just to confirm, the widening of Route 4 is not part of this, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, just making sure. Let's see, what other questions do I have? The parking on the triangular parking on northeast, I guess, so that's for staff only?
Well,
correct.
Yes, Mike is correct. That's the way we've discussed it. I mean, once the school is operating, there may be some adjustment, but I think that's the intention. That's what we talked about with school administration. Yes. And like in terms of lights, those will be dimmed after hours. Is there anything else we can do for neighbors, since those are the closest ones for the to the neighbors as far as parking? Again, we're going to use light fixtures that have zero cutoff, so there should be no light spillage. We plan to have a complete study done of the lighting, but that's the intention there. Whether or not we actually go to black at certain hours. That's an operational decision, I think, by the school. So I would leave that to the school to decide how to operate.
Thank you. I'm, of course, very interested in an auditorium of my background. Is it one level or two?
So we have sloping seats or sloping floor to accommodate the seats. The view will be perfect from any vantage point in the auditorium. If you could go to the previous diagram. No, the ground floor. Yes, that diagram. Perfect. If you could zoom in on that. You can see we have, we're getting there. You can see there are two entrances, one on each side of the auditorium that leads you in. And then you can see that there's a main cross aisle. That cross aisle is in the center of the auditorium. Mm-hmm. And from that cross aisle, you see sloping floor that slopes down, aimed toward the, nope, the other way, sloping down toward the stage. The stage is to the right. And so that's some of the seating. And then from that cross aisle to the left, it's a much steeper slope. And so the visibility is quite good. If you go to the next plan, which shows you the upper, it's one level, but it's a sloping, a higher pitch to the left, a lower pitch to the right. I hope that explains it.
I think I get it. How many seats are we getting for the auditorium?
I think the ed specs call, it's whatever the ed specs call for. I think it's
660.
660.
Ed specs call for 650, and I think we're currently tracking about 660, no more than that.
Thank you, Michael.
Can I ask? Yeah. Is it ADA compliant? It's one of the big things or misses that we have today.
Absolutely, it's ADA compliant. In fact, our plans have been thoroughly reviewed, and we're still finalizing the building plans. I think the site plans and details are quite substantially far along, but the building plans, we've just started construction documents. All the building plans have been reviewed a couple of times by a consultant, a universal design consultant, who has been very careful reviewing accessibility as well as universal design principles. So I'm confident that the entire facility will be accessible.
And I'm hoping that some focus is also done on acoustics, right? It's something that with a new school, hopefully we'll get.
Yes, we have an acoustics consultant who's part of our team, Jackie Holden. They've done a lot of theaters and a lot of high school auditoria with us. So we are relying on them. And they've been doing quite a lot of reviews themselves and advising us on the details. So yes, acoustics is definitely a criteria in our design.
One of the things that we don't have enough of, and I've even talked to some custodial staff, I do a lot of volunteering at the high school, is that we don't have a lot of storage for the music program, and I believe the custodial staff too. You think we're going to get more of that?
Yes, I do. We have had thorough reviews with every department in the school, including music and performing arts. So music is actually divided into a couple of spaces on this floor as well as the upper floor. So you can see here two approximately equal size music areas. The seating is just configured a little bit differently just for the sake of scale and to illustrate the purpose of these rooms. But between those two spaces, there is music storage. It makes a good place to store instruments. It also serves as an acoustic separation between these two spaces. And to the right there, you can see some smaller spaces. There's ensemble rooms, small assembly areas. And then we have an elevator in this area that leads to the second floor. And on the second floor, we have more music storage, as well as a control area for one of the rooms that could function. So anyway,
yep.
There's plenty of storage. It's divided on those 2 floors.
Thank you. Will there ever, I was just thinking of the timeline between, will there ever be a time that we're missing something, or there's something is not available or accessible when you were working on the new building, or a transition period where, and I know I've been talking about the music rooms because I'm passionate about it, but okay, let's take the auditorium and I will we'll be done with that. But will there be a time frame where the auditorium will not be available at all?
No, the intention is to build the entire building at once.
Okay.
So that all of the facilities are available. We would expect we would get 1 certificate of occupancy, ideally, for the whole building, for the whole new building. And only then would the demolition and removal of the existing building take place. So when you move into this facility, all of the features should be operational.
Okay, thank you. That's awesome. Couple more things.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, Michael.
I just want to clarify that I believe the question was about the building, but perhaps implicit in the question was a need to clarify for this commission that some elements of the site amenities, namely the practice ball field and the tennis courts, as well as some of the parking, will not be accessible during construction. We will have to take those items offline. The students can come to the main school building and use that. The football stadium will remain. The upper fields that are high up on the site will remain, but the tennis courts necessarily have to be removed, and that practice ball field have to be removed in order to get the building built. And then once the kids all move into the new building, then as the old building is demolished, the constructor can make those other site amenities available.
Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, great. I have a question about the student parking and how they will access the building. Like, is there a crosswalk? Just thinking of the beginning or ending of the school and what happens today.
Yeah,
so I know, yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
It's a very good question, and we've really pronounced the crosswalk that Shannon is showing there. And it's past where the parent drop pulls out, so there won't be a conflict there.
Good.
And at the time that they're crossing, there should be little traffic going back to the staff lots.
Good. No, that's awesome. That's such a problem right now. And then let's talk about the shelter. So if there, there's a community problem or whatever, will this still continue to be served as a shelter for the community, this building?
Yes.
Okay.
In the same way that the existing building is serving as a shelter as well.
So you would go from the west entrance, or we would just do the main entrance? Like, is it only, like in the past we used the gyms, right, with the auditorium? Is that still the same idea?
Well, that's an operational decision. It may make sense if it's an emergency shelter to focus the people who need to get into the building through that west entrance. That west entrance leads you into a very large space. So that large space, which is the cafeteria space, or commons is what we've been calling it, could act as a triage area. So you come in and you find the person that you need and you say, look, I need a place to stay, and they will direct you to where there are sleeping accommodations made, or they may just say, I need a place where I can charge my electronics because I don't have any power at home, and they will direct you to where there's a bank of outlets. So that whole commons area serves as a wonderful area where people who need help can get help that they need.
Okay. Thank you. And the last thing, and just thinking about it out loud, and and I'm just thinking about it because of the current environment and our products not being readily available. So we're very excited for the school. We're very proud to have a new school. I know you're excited to work with us and have your name right on it as a wonderful project, community project that you will deliver. I just hope that whatever parts and materials that we're using are things that are readily available or standards. I'm sure they're commercial grade because that's what this is. Things have to be more durable. It's just my own opinion. I just hope there's nothing that's odd or super custom that, because I think that's what has happened. And I think part of it has happened is because the building is, you know, older and has many renovations and additions. But I hope that, you know, 10 years from now, we're not looking for parts that are no longer made.
Sure, that's a very good question. So in that question, there's a lot of sub-questions.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
So first, as far as the specifications for materials and systems, this is all pretty commonly available material. There's nothing exotic about any of the materials that we're selecting. In this day and age, a lot of components are built using overseas products. You know, in your automobile, you've got components that are built overseas. The same thing is true for controls, temperature control systems, mechanical equipment. They have computer circuits. And there's been a real shortage of getting computer components, quite frankly. Will that continue? I hope not. But, you know, you've read in the paper, I'm sure, about procurement issues right now. And that is something that we're going to be looking at with the construction manager, who's doing a cost estimate right now. And I expect the construction manager will report on the procurement issue that they've experienced on projects, such as steel, for example. But nothing we've specified is exotic. I think there's another phenomenon going on right now that is all of the construction industry is suffering from, which is the procurement of materials. We're doing our best to make this as easily assembled as possible.
Thank you for being so kind with, and that's exactly where I was going with my question. I just want to end with the screening comment in the beginning. Shannon, this application checklist. Okay. Looking at the building height, it looks like there was a variance filed and approved.
Correct.
Where is this height? Is it on the building that we're talking about for screening or no?
Yes. So the screening was separate. So the screening and normal projections through the roof do not contribute to the calculation for the height of the building.
Yeah.
So when you look at the definition of height, roof penetrations for stair towers or elevator towers, rooftop mechanical equipment, or the screening would not contribute to height. But the what did come into play was the third floor for these academic buildings. And I believe we also had to take a look at the sunlights,
Skylights.
Oh, thank you. The term escaped me, the skylights. And because of the, there's peaks to those. So there's some, you know, architectural interest to the skylights that are provided. So it's not just a flat pitch. So those had to be looked at. So we had reviewed those, realized that that needed a variance, worked with the design team, ran the calculations and the numbers, and so the variance that was needed was secured. I did compare the elevations and height calculations that were presented at the time of the ZBA to this current application, and the numbers are, everything's identical.
Okay, good.
So it's consistent with the plans that received the variance, the height variance.
Yeah. Based on what was presented, I don't think we need additional screening.
So the screening, I believe we have that as an engineering comment, so that all I can say is it can be deceiving. So I understand what's been presented. I understand it looks like parts of this might be screened by other parts of the building. Certainly if it's on a second floor level of the building, and it's being screened by the third floor anyway. But it's those elements that may be up on the third floor. I think we want that option left, and I believe it is in the engineering comments, so that it can be evaluated if it's, should it be needed. A lot of times these rooftop units are nice shiny stainless steel elements that so if we just like the flexibility, sure, I guess. So if we understand it, that if it's screened by something else, or if it's a matte finish, or because of our vantage point, because we're at ground level versus the third, being on top of the roof, and it's set back enough, and it's not shining as a beacon off to somewhere, right? So just because we don't see it when we're standing on the ground doesn't mean a neighbor isn't seeing it. So we just want to be mindful of that.
So we'll condition working with town staff and engineering.
Just, which I think, right, if we just work through the engineering comments that the rooftop screening is one of those, then we should be fine.
And regarding just the logistics of this, so I know what's in front of us in terms of voting, and I maybe there's public that needs to ask questions, so I'll be quick. But if there's anything drastic that changes, will it come back in front of us, or?
Yes. Okay. So this is no different than any other site plan and special permit application. Okay. So if there's a site plan change, then it's reviewed by staff initially. Yep. And then it's brought back to the commission for review. And then ultimately the commission decides whether or not it's something that elevates to warranting reopening a public hearing. Typically, if the use isn't changing and the intensity of the use isn't changing, then we typically have not warranted another public hearing. It's simply a site plan. So if something's shifting or moving around, then it's simply site plan is the typical path that these things have gone.
It's a huge project.
It is.
Yeah. So,
is.
Okay. I just thank you for explaining that for all of us. I'm done with my questions.
Okay.
Woo! All right. Thank you. All right. Let's see here. Well, from the applicant, but before we turn it to to the public, excuse me for their comments. Is there anything else you would like to add or comment on?
I'm going to turn it over to Meg in a minute. I think we have adequately answered the questions by the members of this commission, but we certainly could be available if there are any follow-up questions. Meg, any final thoughts?
No, I was just going to add, same in addition, Richard, we are clearly always here if you have additional questions, comments, thoughts, after the fact, additional information that you need from us, we're always open for that. So hopefully this provided you what you needed as far as planning for us this evening. But as you mentioned, Inez, this is a big project and a lot going on. So we want to make sure that we stay fully engaged and continue the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you both. All right, Shannon, let's see if there's anyone available.
Public comment. Okay, so I will just state for the record, we did not receive any written comments regarding this application. I will ask if anyone is called in and wishes to offer comment regarding this high school special permit application to please raise your hand, and you will be acknowledged to address your comments to the commission. And all comments to be addressed to the commission. When you are acknowledged, please state your name and address. And again, address comments to the commission, and then the applicant will have an opportunity to follow up afterwards. So we have Mr. Jay Tulin. If you want to unmute your microphone, you should be able to address the commission.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
We can.
Okay. So Jay Tulin, 39 Timberline Drive. Although I'm actually here, my brief comments are actually in my capacity of chair, as chair of the Farmington Human Relations Commission. The brief comments I have probably are not going to be a surprise to any of the folks from the building committee or TSKP, and maybe some of you. We've actively advocated for universal design from the very beginning of this process. So I just kind of wanted to acknowledge, for whatever it's worth, first of all, I also appreciate the fact that ADA compliance and universal design came up during the discussion. you know, I just wanted to share that we're very excited and very supportive of the project, but in particular, the efforts of the building committee and TSKP to incorporate universal design. I know the Institute for Human-Centered Design and Valerie Fletcher, who I know personally, have been very actively providing constructive comments that are, you know, in the process of being incorporated to the project. So I'm just thankful that universal design is being considered and that the Institute for Human-Centered Design was brought into the project. And we're just really looking forward to a new and much better high school than we have now. And I believe that the universal design concept are going to have a very important role in that. That's really all I wanted to say, and just appreciate having a couple of minutes to address the TPZ Commission. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and thank you. And Peter Jones, if you want to unmute your microphone and address the commission.
Yes, hi, Peter Jones, 21 Briarwood Road, Farmington. You know, you'd think the town of Farmington would have all their ducks in a row prior to this thing going to referendum. Obviously, it didn't. A couple months ago, a variance had to be obtained to go 47 feet high. Now the site plan needs a variance. You have a 250,000 square foot building being built on top of a quiet residential neighborhood that's been there since the 60s. The building will be 150 feet from the residential housing. 150 feet is half a football field. School buses less than 150 feet away from this houses. This alone should be a no vote from all of you on the zoning board. You also should check your environmental reports because I believe this sits on a protected aquifer. With all the land available in Farmington, and this is not the place to put the high school. Vetted, totally thought through. They never contact or, excuse me?
I was simply going to say your microphone keeps cutting out.
Okay. This project is already $10 million over budget. 1 million of it is which is coming from the state because someone is being investigated by the FBI for kickbacks. I believe these facts alone nullify this referendum. I would ask the zoning board, the Board of Ed, the town council, the building committee, and anyone in favor of this project, this question. Think of your house. Think of your neighborhood. How would you feel? What would you do if a 250,000 square foot building that's 47 foot tall was going to be built on top of you? You would not be happy. If you had disposable income, you would lawyer up. You'd fight. Surely somebody from this board will vote this down, but I think you're all on board. You see the hypocrisy here? You just had somebody from Redcoat Drive trying to build a oversized garage in a residential neighborhood. You see what you're trying to build here on top of Briarwood Road and Crestwood Drive? It's ridiculous. I wish somebody from the town or the zoning board would come to me and talk. I'm retired. I'm home all the time. 21 Briarwood Road. Tell me the laws and the ordinances that you're sidestepping here. Tell me what's going on. This is wrong. This isn't about anti-education, anti-school. This is about zoning and what you're expected to do to protect the resident taxpayers. Now, another problem has arisen. I see that the path to Briarwood Road and to Crestwood is going to remain for student access. Well, I have no problem with students walking up and down Briarwood Road. I've been here for 23 years. The students are wonderful. The students, I haven't had an act of vandalism, theft, or mischief. Recently, they're starting to park at the top of Briarwood Road, and the school is a quarter mile away. they're starting to drop off and pick up in the morning and in the afternoon. Parents that don't want to deal with a little congestion on Monteith Drive are using Briarwood Road and Crestwood. I see the path remaining. I can't see how that could remain and have traffic, undue traffic coming up Briarwood Road cul-de-sac like Grand Central Station. It's totally unfair to the neighborhood. It's overlooked and it's happening now. I mean, I can see when the construction starts that there will be no access for students, but once the school is right there, they're all going to want to use that drop off and pick up. They don't want to use Monteith Drive. It's 2 minutes traffic. There's too many people going in and out. Having said all that, I would say to this board, have some backbone. Do the right thing and vote this proposal down. Good night.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else?
Has anyone else called in to speak regarding this application? If you would like to address the commission, please raise your hand using the feature in Zoom to address the commission, and your microphone will be unmuted so you can address your comments. Okay, one more time, anyone want to speak regarding this Farmington High School special permit and site plan application? Please raise your hand using the feature in Zoom. Madam Chair, there are no other hands raised.
We should probably ask the applicant to
ask the applicant and then check in with the commission. Yep.
So if the applicant can comment on just comment on what the comments from the public, I would appreciate it.
Yes, I'd be happy to, Madam Chair. So the first question was from Jay Tulin. We are still going through universal design details within the building, but I believe we've addressed all the universal design comments that were recommended to us in terms of the site. The second comment from the second caller was Peter Jones, who raised some concerns about a number of things, including an aquifer. This project will be reviewed by DEEP as part of its state review. There's been no indication of an aquifer in any of the survey work that we've done, but if there is, it certainly will be cited by DEEP, but I don't believe there is. There was also, Mr. Jones also made a comment about people parking on Crestwood and Briarwood even now, even without this new building being built. Will that get worse? I cannot predict that. Certainly, I think that the police should be made aware of that going on. If it's a problem now, it may be a problem in the future. I don't know if it's going to get worse or if anything can be done from an operational standpoint to prevent that from happening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just real quick, if I may, Michael Scott, the other comment from Mr. Jones was the site plan requires yet another variance. This is not a variance request. This is a special permit, which is fairly typical for any school that you construct in Connecticut. Typically, schools are not by right in many zones across Connecticut towns. So a special permit is an important tool that this commission has to evaluate the special circumstances that are created by schools that don't necessarily, rather than go around and create a school zoning category, it's the special permit by which allows towns to consider applications like this on their merits. So,
thank you. Good points. All right, commissioners, before I close the public hearing, do you have any final questions for the applicant? Okay, hearing none, the public hearing is closed. Thank you. We need a motion and a second before discussion, please.
Yep, Patrick Carrier. I make the motion to approve the application by the town of Farmington for a special permit and site plan for construction of a new high school located at 10 Monteith Drive in an R40 and R20 zone, with the following condition: that all comments from the March 14, 2022 engineering memorandum shall be addressed to the satisfaction of town staff.
Michael Bullis, second.
Excellent, great job, thank you. Well, no discussion, hello, okay. All right, so commissioners, big project in front of us, project that has been in the works for a long time. For some of the newer members, you know, we have had the pleasure of getting little bits of information from time to time here. A lot of information to review, of course, and as town residents, I'm sure we all heard about the project and hopefully participated in the different community outreach that has the building committee has done for us here. So discussion, any comments? How do you feel? Or do we want to go one by one, or let's do it? Patrick?
I mean, this project has been in the works for a long time, and there are a lot of you know, there's been a lot of eyeballs on it, let me put it that way. I mean, I think it looks great, and I'm comfortable moving forward.
Thanks. Mike?
Nothing further to add, thank you.
Thank you. Scott?
I don't have anything further to add either.
Matt?
Same, nothing further to add. Thank you.
Liz?
Nothing further to add, except it's exciting as we get closer and closer to putting a shovel in the ground.
Thank you. And James?
All good on my end. Thanks.
All right. It sounds like I have nothing, no questions. I always have something to add, but look, the location that we're talking about has always been a school, right? And so we're getting a new school. All right, it's time to vote. So we have a motion and a second. Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it one by one. Why not?
Okay. Patrick Carrier.
Yes.
Mike Bullis.
Yes.
Scott Halstead.
Yes.
Matt Hutfagner.
Yes.
Liz Sanford.
Yes.
And Ina St. James.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members
Thank
of the
you.
commission.
Thank you.
We appreciate the time and attention and the questions. Thank you so much.
You got it. Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too. Thank you. All right. Planners report.
Planners report. I do have a couple of things, everyone. So I know it's late. I will try to be brief, and I do have a couple of things to add on to what I had. So first thing is 119 Coppermine Road. You'll recall we've had the Farmington Land Trust in. That's where it's their property that is located across from West District School, and they're looking to convert that over to their office location. While they are under, and as part of that application, it did include a sign at the frontage. As part of this and moving forward, during construction, they would like the ability to install a temporary sign identifying the property while it's under construction. They don't have anything specific for me at the moment, but if the commission, and certainly I can have them bring it forward to you, but if the commission's agreeable, I can work with them, the Farmington Land Trust, on an acceptable sign size and location, not to exceed the size of the sign that was already approved as part of the project, and that the temporary sign would be removed once a permanent sign is installed at the end of construction. So if folks are okay with that, then that's what I propose moving ahead with. If there's any concerns or questions or thoughts, I'm happy to hear them or address them.
Commissioners, any objections to Shannon working with the property owner? We're good? Okay.
Oh, okay. Silence and head nodding. Okay. All right, we're gonna keep moving. You know where to find me if you've got an issue. Second item is, and this is just an order, is the reminder for training next Tuesday night. I know one or two of you that have had a conflict come up. This will be recorded. And yes, because this is now a requirement with our new Public Act, then you will be required to watch it and provide a written email to me that said you did watch it in its entirety on your own time. But we would prefer the majority of you that don't have a conflict joining us via Zoom next Tuesday from 6 to 8, and we'll be getting everybody loaded into Zoom.
Thank you.
So that's just a reminder. And in-person meeting update, other than it's probably we're looking towards the end of April at this point, end of April, early May. We're still working through a few things. Okay, next thing is 402 Farmington Avenue update. Wanted to update you on a couple of things.
Tell us what.
Oh, sorry. So 402 Farmington Avenue, the apartment complex, the Metro Realty apartment complex that was approved, that's located behind 400 Farmington Avenue in the Genome facility.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the Metro Realty apartment complex that is under appeal. The brief for the TPZ appeal is due at the end of the month. With that, I would expect a court date the end of April or early May. And if it is similar to the wetlands appeal, a decision then would be anywhere from 60 to 120 days after the court date.
Okay.
The owner is in their right to proceed with construction during the appeal. They are proceeding at risk, but they are in their right to do so. The owner has cleared the site. They have erosion control in place. We are receiving regular erosion control inspection reports. They are required as part of their DEEP construction stormwater permit, and they are copying us on all those reports. While they were doing the tree clearing and getting the ENS installed, Bruce and I were on site, and we are also keeping track of the days that we are on site. It has been quiet for the last, I'll say 6 to 8 weeks. We have been notified that they do intend to mobilize within the next week or two. It could be this week. It just depends on when they finish up at one construction site. They're going to move over to here. And they are going to start prepping the site in anticipation of starting the blasting that's needed for the rock removal. So blasting, they're tentatively thinking is 6 to 8 weeks out. So that would put us towards the end of May-ish, roughly. It's possibly fluid at this point. You know, a lot of it's going to be weather dependent and when everyone can mobilize. They have their blasting permit with us, with TPZ. They have requirements they need to fulfill with the fire marshal.
Yeah.
So I will ask that if any of you are contacted by an adjacent homeowner to just kindly direct them to us. You've had your time with this application. So if somebody is not happy with the way something is proceeding, you can direct them to us and we will, staff will address it. Like I said, once they are actively moving, then we will, our goal is to be out on site at least once a week, if not more, depending upon what's actually going on. So that's just an update. And as we go through, if there's questions or concerns with anything, just reach out. Final thing under planner's report, 1800 Farmington Ave is the mobile gas station that's located here in Unionville across from Stop and Shop. So you'll recall they had tanks removed in the fall of 2020. And then this fall, I think most of us that come through Unionville were impressed as we saw them swing tanks into place under the canopy. And got those in place, and we've seen new signage go up and new new asphalt, etc., and they're getting ready to reopen. As part of all this, I have to sign a state certificate basically saying that all permits and approvals are in place. It did not formally come before the commission for this reopening because they didn't change anything. So this is more really just an FYI to you folks that it was a gas station with whatever, 8 pumps. It's continuing to be a gas station with 8 pumps. They didn't change the driveway. They just put in new tanks.
Yep.
So I will be signing off on that state permit. And I would anticipate seeing that facility open here within the next week or two. They are very anxious to get moving.
Okay. Yay.
Oh, one more thing, sorry. With respect, I know there was a couple of folks that had questions on the FHS presentation this evening with respect to 1928 building and next steps. If you did not, hopefully you've subscribed to Everbridge. In between Everbridge and other municipal notifications, you got the survey that the building committee sent out regarding the disposition of the 1928 building, and it also talked about some of the other buildings. So if you got it and haven't had a chance to look at it yet, there's still time to take the survey. There's also just in general a lot of good information there explaining what the building committee and the 1928 committee's thoughts are with respect to possible next steps. If you didn't get a link or you're not sure what Everbridge is, feel free to give me a ring tomorrow and I'm happy to get you put in that direction so that you can get access to it.
I think it's on the town website.
Well, I think the link's on the town website, but if you'd like Everbridge, then I can show you how to maneuver to get that, and so that you'll get all of these types of notifications that come through. That's it for this. And just a reminder, we do have Aquifer. So when we vote and we adjourn TPZ, don't hang up on us because we do have Aquifer. I got one thing on Aquifer.
Any questions for Shannon? No. Okay. We just need to look at this. I'm reading my notes. We need to approve minutes of March 7th, please. We need a motion and a second.
Yeah, Patrick here. I make the motion to approve the minutes of the March 7th, 2021 Town Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
Second.
Liz Sanford, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Minutes approved. All right, so we are ending TPZ 9:57 and we are starting at what? Excuse me, Aquifer. What?
Aquifer protection.
Aquifer protection, yeah. No, I thought you were, yeah.
I thought you were going to give the time again.
Yeah. No, that's good.
So aquifer protection. So we have, this is the final renewal and re-registration. This property, it's the 387 Farmington Avenue location. I believe this is the Valero gas station. So it's in the sand and stone aquifer. Documentations are in and everything. Garrett and I have reviewed it. Garrett has been great. He's really shepherded getting all of this across the finish line for me. So this is the last item. So their best management practices are placed, the documentation's in place. So it's just the re-registration that we're doing.
That we're accepting.
Yep, we're accepting. So we need just a motion and a second to accept the re-registration for 1387.
Unless you guys have any questions.
Oh, if there's questions.
Yeah. Okay, then motion and a second, please.
Yeah, Patrick Carrier. I make a motion to approve the re-registration of the sand and stone aquifer at 1387 Farmington Avenue, GPM Investments LLC.
Thank you. And second?
Scott Halstead, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Meeting adjourned, 9:58.
9:58, folks.
Thank you very much for all of your comments and questions. It was a lot to process. We did it. Have a good evening.
All right, take care. Good night.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.